Hello and welcome back to From the BON, the Burnley podcast. We're looking ahead to Saturday's game against Chelsea because we're back from the international break, and we usually slag it off as a boring international break and moan about how we've missed football during it, but wasn't bad, was it, Chris? Wasn't a bad international break, that.
Well, I say when you get to the back end of the qualifying, you finally get to the games where there's jeopardy, don't you? And anyone who watched the Scotland game the other night, it's just one of the most remarkable international fixtures you'll have seen in some time. But I always think it's a shame for Scotland. They got to the World Cup for the first time in 28 years, and they're going to have to watch us win it.
Ooh. I tell you what, though, it is. Watched a couple of programs over here where people are going through their tips, and people who have no connection to England, even an Argentinian pundit on one show I was saying he's got England as favourites. So the rest of the world is thinking along those lines. But yeah, I watched Hungary Ireland as well, which was amazing victory for Ireland. I mean, I've got family connections to Hungary, so I was a bit gutted that they didn't get through that. They really blew it, really. But and then some of the stuff over here in CONCACAF we'll skip. But there were plenty of drama on the final day as well. You see any football? Did you switch off from it a bit, Daz?
I completely switched off international breaks. I had the Ireland and Scotland games sort of flashing up on my phone, but. Yeah, I do completely switch off for 2 weeks when it's international breaks. I tend to watch them when England have a competitive fixture that means something. But other than that, no, it's a clean break for me.
Yeah, so Josh Cullen was very busy in that game for him, though. He's quite influential in that team, as he is in our team, isn't he, Chris?
It's like with Burnley. Yeah, he's grown. His presence has grown as he's the longer he's been in the side, and. I say, they're doing a job against Portugal, who can, got a pick of superb midfield options, and again against, as you mentioned, Hungary, where you're talking about Szoboszlai, who Europe's elite are seemingly queuing up. If his contract doesn't get sorted out at Liverpool, so he's in good company, and it's great. I think I was reading something on the Burnley Express website. It's like there could be was it like 13, 14 Burnley players at the World Cup? It's unheard of. You're lucky if you get like one or two. It really could be, one of those tournaments. You've got interest in every other group game almost.
Remember when Billy Hamilton got there? When Billy Hamilton got
fabulous.
There, that's won it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, that 1982 World Cup. In fact, and Tommy Cassidy was in the midfield as well, wasn't he? Yeah. No, that Northern Ireland team. I remember. Your images are running out with a ball after a game into the street, kicking a ball about and everything, and. You sort of forget England weren't really involved, don't you? Because we were all Northern Ireland fans, 82.
I remember this. Remember watching, I was only 7. I can remember this, putting the cross in for Jerry Armstrong to that famous win against Spain. And then he got a couple against Austria, didn't he? But
yeah,
I think I'll show again, showing how young I was. I was in bed when England played. I think they play Spain in the final game, and Keegan missed a sitter, and Brooking missed a sitter, and I just had a note on me bedside cabinet in the morning that said, "We're out."
All right, yeah,
devastated.
But you're right. I mean, Hannes Delcroix, even the forgotten man at Turf Moor, he's qualified for the World Cup with Haiti. So there's
Sambo,
yeah. Hannibal's going to be there.
That's remarkable. That's remarkable, Chris. Is that right? 12 or 13?
Well, I say Brun Larson and people. I mean, I think it's counting Kyle Walker in that if he's forces his way in, which looks unlikely at present.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Dubravka in there, haven't you? And what have you?
Yeah. No, there's plenty still involved in the playoffs as well, aren't there? But it's back to the turf on Saturday, early kick-off against Chelsea. One sort of hangover from the international break was seeing Armando Broja get injured against England, and it certainly looked to you, Daz, like we wouldn't be seeing him in action this weekend, but apparently he's made a miraculous recovery.
I wasn't sure we were going to see him again. Whereas he was taken off the pitch. He was having gas, he was having air, he was crying, he was on a stretcher. I mean, we were on the WhatsApp group saying, well, the urgency for a striker in January is just intensified. And lo and behold, he might be fit for the weekend. I mean, the lad's either got a low pain threshold or it was a misdiagnosis, one of the two.
It was one of those.
Yeah,
there was no one near him. There was no one near him, was he, when he went down? So you usually see those in they're the worst ones, aren't they? But as you say, he was his head in hands. He was in agony. It's remarkable. You're presuming he's out for the season, sort of thing. he's back within a couple of days. Yeah.
Instead, he just sat on the bench for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like he's going to be in the starting lineup at the weekend, is it? I mean, did you expect any other changes? I mean, there's been a bit of a doubt about Hartman as well, hasn't there, Chris? But that seems to have eased off.
He missed the I always say to me the Holland. I have to say Netherlands, don't I now? But he missed those games with illness. But it's Lucas Perez got a bit of a run out, didn't he? Last time out, so Hartman's been one of our better performers this season. He would be a big blow, even though I like Perez. I know a lot of people were down on him at times last season. He'd be an adequate replacement, but Hartman's probably one of the first names on the team sheet these days, and we want him fully firing. He's going to be up against probably. Might be Neto, Garnacho, someone like that, and he's going to have to be. We want someone tip top up against one of those.
Yeah, I mean, when we look at the sides that Parker's picked, and obviously we've had that disappointment at West Ham, do you think, Daz, that he might shake it up a little bit? Do you think he's had this international break? Looking at it, and he was pissed off after that West Ham game, wasn't he, Parker? I mean, do you think he might shake things up a little bit, or are we back to what we've got used to seeing this year?
It's probably the test now of where he stands with his back five, because we all kind of suspect, I think, that it's going to be a back four against the sides that we feel we've got a chance to beat, and a back five against the big boys. Now, Chelsea definitely fall into the big boys category, but it's at Burnley. We're not playing badly. We're scoring goals. We're conceding a hell of a lot. We're scoring goals. And going to the back five hasn't really worked in terms of shoring things up. So it's a really interesting one. I don't know. My heart says go 4. My head says he'll probably go 5 at the back and try and frustrate Chelsea a little bit. But again, that means if he's going to do that, it means bringing Josh back in. It means leaving out one of his midfielders, doesn't it? And losing a creative player. So we keep going through this merry-go-round of what do we do with this side, and he has got plan A and a plan B, depending on who he plays. I think it just depends on where he feels the squad's at. Is it a little bit fragile after the recent defeats, especially the West Ham defeat and the manner of it? Or does he feel like on the training ground now he's got to run back together again, that they're all chomping at the bit and they've been eating raw meat for 3 days, and let's get at them, boys. I suspect he'll go 5, though.
Yeah, I mean, you tend to think that with Parker, don't you? That he probably will go for what is the safer option, or seen as being. I mean, it is debatable whether it is that much more solid. But what do you think, Chris? Are you expecting that?
I'm exactly the same. I mean, Maresca's one of those that sort of, he's not shy in changing formations, but seems to be more settled with a sort of a 4-2-3-1. But even within that, you've got, both fullbacks like to get high up the pitch. His defensive midfielders like to get in the box, and they're always in and around. Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez capable of nicking a goal or two, and then he's got his 2 wide players and probably João Pedro off Delap maybe. So they will have a lot of bodies going forward. So I think that probably tips it a bit more to the 5. To my disappointment, and I imagine a lot of other people, because as Daz says, it's not shoring us up. We're conceding goals while offering little If we, I'd rather be more of a front foot threat and try and take the game because you can get at Chelsea. I know I'm not saying Sunderland are they're obviously not a pushover the way they performed this season, but they're probably a side that Chelsea would have expected to turn over at Stamford Bridge, and they came away with a 2-1 win. I think they scored from a long throw and scored from a punt down the field in the last couple of minutes. So you don't have to be flowing, great counter-attacking football or whatever. We can hurt them by being direct, by using set pieces, I think.
Yeah, and listening to the pod after the West Ham game, there was some discussion as well about whether it's time to maybe rest a couple of players who seem to have fallen out of form a bit. And Jadon Anthony was one of those who was discussed there. I mean, with the options that we have in those wide areas, Daz, do you think, now we've had a bit of reflection after that West Ham game, I'm not going to ask you whether you think Parker would do it, because we always sort of presume he's going to keep things similar to what they were last time, but would you be giving Jadon Anthony a bit of a rest now, or do you think you play him through his little down patch, as it were?
No, I think I'd probably rest him. I think I mentioned that after the last pod. I think, I like Chris, I'm a big Jadon Anthony fan, and in terms of creativity on the side, he's right up there, isn't he? But at the last, I can't even count back how many games it is now where he hasn't really been involved in games. We have got no shortage of wingers. We've got plenty of options there. Hannibal's been chomping at the bit for a few weeks now. He can play out there. Foster can play out there. We have got players with pace, with talent, with good feet who can play on the left. I think it's time to drop him out for a game or two and just let him, take a breath, because I think it'll help him as well. But I'm not sure he will. He's Parker's golden boy, and I think he'll play him. But I would be tempted to give him a rest, definitely.
Chris?
Yeah, the same. I think it's an opportunity rather than play the 5 to put Hannibal there. I know Anthony's diligent; he works hard against the ball. But if you put Hannibal in there, it's an extra body essentially in the midfield, and he can. As he's shown, he's capable. He's technically gifted, and he can create a goal. He can take a goal when he gets into situations, as we've seen. The pass for Foster against Wolves. He could have easily got that one wrong, and he got it absolutely on the money. You've seen this, some of these clips of his performance against Brazil, and he looks full of beans, absolutely full of tricks and flicks. And I suspect the time's right. I think to give him his head and say, "Go on, go and show us what you can do," sort of thing. But the other option, I suspect you could play Foster there, because I think he'd give you, that graft when we're out of possession, but he's capable of driving Chelsea the other way as well.
I like that Hannibal can get amongst them as well, because sometimes these big boys don't like someone snapping your ankles and pulling shirts and just having little niggles at you, and that's Hannibal's game, isn't it?
Yeah. Chelsea have some big games coming up as well, haven't they? They've got Barcelona in the Champions League and then Arsenal. I know it's just been an international break, but do you think that'll have any bearing on things, team selection or approach to this game?
Got to, I think. It's got to. Chelsea, they're not, I think they're about 12th or 13th in the Champions League standings. So they're sort of on the periphery of automatic qualification in terms of dropping in or staying in. They play Barcelona on Tuesday, who are in and about them in the league. It's a massive game for them. You play Barcelona at home, it doesn't get much bigger than that. So there will have to be, and it's only 3 days later, so there'll have to be an element of his selection in that, I think. And then, as you said, they've got Arsenal next weekend, which is a massive game. So if there's going to be a game where they're going to make changes and maybe field a, dare I say, weaker team, this you would think would be the game.
Yeah.
What, pick his best fucking 11 now, won't it?
Well, I'll just look at their squad anyway. If anyone saw the game against Liverpool when they were thoroughly depleted at centre-back and they'd injuries during the game and came back to win that, and it was like, every credit to them. They were fabulous. I just think That's it. Whoever they put out, there's quality. There's
Yeah, they're better
two
than
in
us.
each position. Like they're just one of the elite sides who need that quality to survive across how many competitions. You just wonder though, don't you? I mean, there's with their exploits in the summer, will that have a bearing at some stage? We're getting to that sort of spell now, aren't we? November, December, and it's going to be poof, hell of a schedule from now. But unfortunately, we've got them at the start of that, haven't we? So
Yeah, and you pretty much as well. Probably, I'd imagine nigh on all of their squad have probably been playing in the last 2 weeks. They've not had a break, like half of our squad will. So that'll come into it, I think, as well. So you might have something there, Chris.
Yeah, and I mean Chelsea. You look at them; they're third in the league, aren't they? Is that where? Are they doing better than expected there, or is that where you sort of thought this season, Chris, maybe that you were that's where they'd be?
I think they're improving all the time. They've had this massive outlay over the last couple of years on players and the high turnover, but Maresca seems to have tapped into something. But while they're improving, Arsenal have kicked on. City are showing signs that they can be, certainly a title challenger. Liverpool, I think we all expect at some stage, even though they've been pretty rotten so far, I think we all expect Liverpool at some stage will click. Wirtz will click. Isak will click, etc. I think that's Chelsea's problems that we're at a time where even Manchester United are showing signs of
Yeah, they
maybe
are.
maybe they can be a top five, top six side again. So I think that's their issue. How can they can they compete against the other heavyweights to that extent? I would say that probably on any given day, as they've shown in the summer, Maresca's got a game plan and he's got players to carry that out, and they can beat anyone. But I just think over a full season, I think there's probably 3 or 4 Premier League clubs ahead of them.
Yeah. What's your impressions of them, Daz?
Yeah, quietly they seem to be stringing decent results together and putting together probably a squad that you think now is going to be capable of competing for Champions League football. So ultimately, as Chris mentioned, with the players they've got, they should be better than us. Doesn't always work like that, of course, but I think they'll be looking at top 4. I don't think they'll be looking at winning the league. I don't think they're quite there, but they'll be pushing for top 4. There's no doubt about that. It's another tough one for us, a really tough one for us. We're coming off the back of an international break, and we're a few weeks without a win now, and you've got a tough one here. I don't know. I just think it's these sides. It's harder and harder now to pick a result against them, isn't it? Even if they feel they rest 2 or 3, they bring in quality players, and they've always got that bit of ability that can just turn up and notch them up a gear or two. So I'm not sure there's much in it for us at the weekend, but again, we'll be competitive. We'll put ourselves in amongst them, and you never know, do you? That's why we play the games, as one of our colleagues always says.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be a tough one, but we're due a win against one of the big boys, aren't we?
We keep saying that,
it's just before we knock off, that long-running saga about the incident with Hannibal and Osmajic at Preston has come to an end with a ban for the Preston player, and the reasoning's coming out. Chris, you followed this one. Milutin Osmajic's 9-match suspension. You followed this one quite closely. What do you make of it all now that the dust has settled?
Well, I think when the initial ban came out and Preston, stood 4 square behind Osmajic, and saying that it was on balance of probability, which is the FA's benchmark for punishment. If they thought it was 51% likely that he'd done it, they were going to punish him. So we've basically been waiting for these these findings, the reasoning behind it. What the suggestion at the Preston end was that there's no evidence. It's Hannibal's word against Osmajic's word, and the FA have found in favour of Hannibal. But when you go through the findings, the commission have concluded that Osmajic intentionally used racist words. There's your aggravated breach. It was deliberate retaliation to be mocked by Hannibal, who ran up behind him and sort of laughed at his poor control. You got his previous misconduct has been taken into account, biting Owen Beck, and you go through it all. Osmajic has essentially changed his account, from what he was told before he spoke to the referee. He's changed his story, whether he knew he was accused of using the word black. His account of his first explanation changed. And then we've got the evidence of the lip readers. They've basically said that his version, that he called Hannibal a bad man, which seemed ludicrous from the outset, was not physically possible based on the footage. The sort of two or three of these lip readers have suggested that he's called him you use the F word, and he's called him, a black brother or a black mother. So they've said there's no way on earth he could have said bad man. So, and the commission have concluded that Osmajic invented the bad man explanation. So I don't think he's got a leg to stand on from the outcome of that. So he's missed, he's 17 games for non-football, shall we say, offences. But say North End still seem to be firmly behind him. And I mean, it's not a criminal, it's not a criminal case, so it's not beyond reasonable doubt. But in the FA's terms, he's guilty as charged, and I think he's out till Boxing Day, isn't he?
I do find it weird that we have these different standards, though. That if a court of law has a certain standard, and then a disciplinary committee goes to that, probabilities or possibilities or likelihoods and so on. But it's all, and I do have some sympathy for the disciplinary bodies, because I've been around them when I worked for CONCACAF for a little while. I were around a few cases that had to be dealt with by disciplinary committees, and they can be a nightmare, especially when they involve sensitive stuff like this, because the authorities want to be seen to be strong and clamping down, because they do all the campaigns about racism and so on, and they're wary of being accused of, not backing it up when it comes to actual cases of where something has happened. But then actually finding concrete evidence. I mean, that saga with Suarez that went on for absolutely ages as well, and they're just an absolute nightmare for the authorities, these things, really. I mean, they're on a hiding to nothing almost, really. I mean,
J-Rod was not proven, wasn't he, in case with Gaetan Bong when he was at West Brom. But, I mean, again, you're getting experts into the mix here. If the lip readers are saying, if they turn around and say, listen, we can't tell one way or another, then you've just got to say, I'm sorry, we can't come to a verdict here. But if they're saying that, what Hannibal's said tallies and what Osmajic said doesn't tally, then what other conclusion can you come to?
I mean, they've come out with things in the past where they've said not proven, haven't they? Where they just said there isn't enough there, one way or the other. We're not clearing him of it, and we're not charging him of it. So the fact that they've gone to a 9-game ban and suggests that, the possibilities, the probabilities were leaning heavily towards it being guilty. What do you make of it, Daz? They're unpleasant things, these.
Yeah, prior misdemeanors taken into account, and the fact that he's tried to hoodwink the panel have probably ultimately led to a 9-match ban. And the fact that they've gone to the lengths of bringing the lip readers in, and you read the length of that statement that they brought out by the FA. It's no wonder these things take months and months and months. But never doubt the stupidity of footballers. And you see more and more managers now and footballers with their hands over their mouth when they're talking. And the reason they're doing that is because they know there's cameras all around the ground. So when you've got cameras all around the ground, why would you go up behind a guy and swear and call him to question his parentage and all that, whatever you've said? It goes back to everything, the diving, then claiming that they've been fouled, shirt pulling and then saying I didn't do anything. Every move on a football pitch now, especially in the top 2 divisions, is covered by so many cameras. So there is no hiding place. His defence is bad, not black, which is a ridiculous defence. As Chris said, it was ludicrous to think that he said bad man in the first place, because that's not the first phrase that comes to mind, is it? When you're angry and you're shouting down someone's ear.
No. They're saying a lot's been made of Hannibal's reaction and the way he was upset. He's not sort of heard something and thought, "Ooh, do you know what? I'll make a big deal of this." He's instantly. He was up in arms. He was upset. He spoke to the referee. He spoke to Scott Parker. And I think if someone's in your ear hole, I think there's a good idea, whether there's 21,000 at Deepdale or not, there's a good idea he heard what was said and he's not misheard it. But like Dad says, you just don't. All manner of insults, go on the football field. It's like we're on the eve of the Ashes starting, and the famous sort of sledging that goes on in that. It all gets picked up nowadays, doesn't it, by the various microphones that they have, and you just now, you just cannot get away with it. It's the lip readers have done for him.
And that's why all the managers you see now, managing the players, they all have their hands over their mouth when they're talking, don't they? After games, before games, managers on the sidelines, chatting. You see it so many times now, they just don't want to be picked up by cameras.
Yeah. It becomes a story, doesn't it? The slightest phrase, every phrase they utter nowadays gets used in... You look at that, was it Pochettino's defence the other day? Every single reaction to a question, or whether it's a reaction on the field, it's a story somewhere, and it gets amplified. And I find that bizarre. It's like, literally press conferences, they will now use every single utterance. It's unbelievable, the coverage it gets now.
And you're looking, as a journalist now, you're looking for those lines, aren't you? Because the game isn't enough. England go and win the other night, and there's hardly a mention of England winning because Jude Bellingham's thrown a strop when he's been brought off. That's the story. It almost like the game's irrelevant after that. That's where we are now, isn't it? In this sort of TikTok live blog.
Yeah, I think Ian Wright's absolutely spot on about that. Yeah. We're trying to find something to keep the pot boiling till we get to because it's boring, isn't it? England have won all the games, they haven't conceded a goal, things are heading in the right direction, and it's almost like, we need something to hang the next few months on, don't we, sort of thing. And they'll be back and forth next time they meet up for the friendlies in March, etc. Everyone will be monitoring Bellingham's behaviour in Spain, and it's crackers, isn't it?
Well, you're right, Daz, that stories like to sort of, like, as a journalist, when you're in the press box sometimes, by the time you've got down to the press room, the narrative is already set on social media, isn't it? It's something's happened. I remember covering, United games when they were going through bad spells with Mourinho and Solskjaer. And by the time you got into the press, you haven't had time to ask Solskjaer a question yet. But Gary Neville, Roy Keane, and somebody else have been on TV already, absolutely slaughtering them. And there's lads sat in the corner writing down what Neville said on there because it's going viral on social media. Sky's put out a video. There's a reel going off somewhere else. That's become the story now, the reaction to it. And then you get these situations where then the manager gets asked for his reaction to a pundit's comment.
Yep.
It's a very different world to what we started off with.
Not the world of Keith Matney anymore, is it?
Oh, no,
sadly not.
Not at all.
There we go. We've ended on brand, haven't we? With a good old whinge about how things are like they used to be. Right. Okay. Well, anyway, let's see if we got something to whinge or to celebrate about on Saturday at Turf Moor. We'll be with a rapid reaction from that game, and then, of course, a debrief, more considered, thoughtful, analytical debrief from our more intellectual comrades on Sunday. Until then, have a good Friday, and up the Clarets.